Ethan Harper appeared to have it all: charm, success, and a life everyone envied. But behind his perfect smile lurked a darkness no one could have imagined. To friends, neighbors, and even his closest loved ones, he was the ideal man, always polite, always reliable, always in control. Yet while the town admired him, two women were quietly disappearing, their lives stolen by the very man they trusted most. As the layers of his double life begin to unravel, the shocking truth emerges. Ethan Harper's perfection was a carefully crafted mask hiding a chilling obsession, a deadly secret, and a calculated plan that would leave an entire community in fear. Ethan Harper was the kind of man everyone admired without question. At 32, he had a sleek apartment in the city, a successful career in marketing, and a charm that drew people in effortlessly. Friends described him as attentive, generous, and the type of person who never missed a birthday or an important occasion. His girlfriend, Emily, often posted photos of them on social media, smiling in exotic locations, holding hands at fancy restaurants, or laughing during weekend hikes. To the outside world, Ethan's life was perfect, almost too perfect. Neighbors admired him from a distance, commenting on how polite and reliable he was, always ready to help carry groceries or offer a ride. At community gatherings, he was the first to volunteer and the last to leave, earning praise for his friendliness. But perfection, as it often does, concealed shadows. There were moments that raised subtle questions, though few dared to voice them. Small lies, quickly forgotten, about work trips or social events that didn't quite add up. Phone calls he took privately, cutting conversations short when anyone approached. Friends occasionally noticed his intense focus on certain people, lingering looks, or over-involvement in their personal affairs. These signs were easily brushed aside as quirks or harmless concern, nothing to suspect in a man so polished and admired. The town carried on in its routine, unaware that beneath Ethan's carefully curated image, a storm was brewing. Two women, unconnected to each other, yet both tied to him in ways no one could see, were about to vanish from the town quietly, leaving only questions in their wake. The first discovery would shock the community, and the second would send a ripple of fear through every household. Ethan Harper's flawless life, the one everyone envied, was about to reveal a darkness that no one could have imagined. Beneath the smiles and polite gestures, the perfect guy was hiding secrets that would soon come to light. The first call came early one morning. A young woman had been found dead in her apartment, and the neighborhood woke to the shocking news. Detectives arrived quickly, moving through the small, tidy space that had once seemed safe and ordinary. There were no signs of forced entry, no struggle, only the chilling stillness of a life abruptly ended. Everything in the apartment was in place, but certain items were missing. Personal belongings that belonged to the victim vanished as if someone had carefully removed them. The scene was clinical, almost meticulous, and the investigators felt an immediate unease, sensing the hand of someone who had planned every detail. Days later, the second victim was discovered, this time on the other side of town. She, too, had been close to Ethan, though no one suspected the connection yet. The similarities between the two deaths were impossible to ignore. The methodical removal of belongings, the lack of evidence, the eerie absence of any motive. Police began to notice patterns, subtle threads, linking the cases that pointed toward someone who could move through ordinary life without suspicion. Friends and co-workers started to reflect on Ethan's presence in the lives of both victims, wondering if the charming, dependable man they admired had a darker side. Investigators retraced the women's last steps, examining their routines, their contacts, and their connections to others in the community. Surveillance cameras revealed fleeting images of Ethan in areas near both scenes at unusual times, raising questions that could no longer be ignored. Slowly, the picture of a double life began to emerge. While the town carried on, blissfully unaware, detectives saw a man who could blend seamlessly into public life while orchestrating horrors in private. The calm, perfect exterior of Ethan Harper was beginning to crack, and the truth that lay beneath promised to shock everyone who had ever trusted him. As the investigation continued, a different side of Ethan Harper began to emerge, one that no one had suspected. Friends and acquaintances, once quick to praise his charm, started recalling unsettling incidents from the past. Ex-girlfriends described feelings of unease, a sense of being watched or manipulated, though at the time, they had dismissed it as concern or affection. Ethan's attentiveness, once seen as thoughtful, now appeared controlling. He had a way of learning people's habits, predicting their actions, and exploiting their vulnerabilities without anyone realizing it. Detectives discovered that both victims had confided in him, sharing personal secrets that could have destroyed their lives if exposed. It became clear that he had used this knowledge to gain trust and maintain control, carefully planning interactions to observe and influence them. His friendships and relationships, seemingly ordinary, were now reinterpreted as tools for surveillance, manipulation, and psychological control. The more investigators learned, the more chilling it became. Ethan's life was not merely secretive. It was methodical, with every detail calculated to maintain his public image while hiding the dark obsession underneath. Even casual acquaintances began to recall oddities, small inconsistencies in his stories, the way he seemed to always know too much, the way he could charm people into revealing more than they intended. Every revelation added another layer to the unsettling portrait of a man who had spent years hiding in plain sight. Ethan Harper's outward perfection was a mask, a carefully constructed facade that concealed a mind capable of extreme violence and manipulation. The town that once trusted him implicitly now faced the terrifying realization that someone so ordinary, so admired, could harbor secrets that no one could have imagined. What had begun as admiration was turning into fear, and the scope of his double life was only beginning to reveal itself. The investigation reached a turning point when evidence began to form a disturbing pattern. Security footage from streets near both crime scenes showed fleeting images of Ethan Harper at unusual hours, his presence seemingly coincidental but increasingly suspicious. Small details that had been overlooked suddenly took on terrifying significance. A forgotten key card, a delivery receipt, a witness who remembered seeing him near the second victim's building late at night. Each clue seemed insignificant alone, but together, they painted the outline of a carefully orchestrated plan. A search of Ethan's apartment revealed a chilling truth. Hidden compartments contained items belonging to the victims, jewelry, personal documents, and even photographs. More disturbing were the journals he had kept, meticulously recording the movements, habits, and weaknesses of the women he had befriended and ultimately betrayed. The entries revealed a mind obsessed with control, with detailed notes about each interaction, each emotional response, and each opportunity for manipulation. It was as if he had been documenting his crimes before committing them, a methodical preparation that left investigators both horrified and fascinated by the precision of his actions. Neighbors and co-workers began to look back at their interactions with Ethan, realizing too late that the friendly gestures, the favors, and the attentiveness had all been calculated. The man who had been celebrated for his reliability and charm had spent years building a network of trust to exploit, carefully selecting victims and isolating them before the fatal act. The town's sense of security shattered, replaced with disbelief and fear. Ethan Harper was no longer just a charming neighbor. He was a predator who had lived among them, smiling, unnoticed, while executing a deadly double life. Every revelation added weight to the chilling truth. Appearances could be deceiving. The final pieces of Ethan Harper's dark puzzle fell into place when detectives discovered a plan so sinister it sent shockwaves through the town. Buried within his hidden journals were notes about a third potential victim, a meticulous outline of stalking, manipulation, and timing that mirrored the precision of the first two murders. Authorities realized that without intervention, another life would have been lost, and the nightmare would have continued. The realization that he had been preparing for another kill, while the town carried on believing in his perfection, deepened the horror. As investigators pieced together the timeline, it became evident that Ethan had been living a dual existence for years. By day, He was the charming professional, the attentive boyfriend, the neighbor everyone could trust. By night, he meticulously followed, studied, and controlled those around him, carefully orchestrating events to maintain the perfect facade while satisfying a dark compulsion. His outward life was a mask of normalcy, but beneath it was an obsession with power, secrecy, and control. The community, once blind to his true nature, began to grasp the enormity of the deception. When law enforcement confronted him, the depth of his double life became undeniable. Items from the victims, detailed journals, and digital footprints formed an overwhelming case. The evidence revealed not only the crimes themselves, but the calculated method behind them, a mind that could compartmentalize empathy and cruelty without hesitation. Ethan Harper had used trust as a weapon, exploiting relationships and confidences to hide a deadly side from the world. The town was left reeling from the revelation. People who had admired him, befriended him, and trusted him were forced to confront a terrifying truth. Appearances can be deadly misleading. Even the most perfect, charming individual may harbor unimaginable darkness. Ethan Harper's story became a chilling reminder that evil often wears. The trial revealed the full scope of Ethan Harper's double life, and the community struggled to process the horrifying details. As evidence was presented, it became clear that his crimes were not impulsive but meticulously planned. Detectives described the precision with which he tracked his victims, noting times, routines, and even emotional states. Experts on criminal behavior analyzed his journals and belongings, concluding that Ethan had exhibited traits of extreme control and obsession long before the murders occurred. Friends and family grappled with disbelief, trying to reconcile the charming man they had known with the predator unveiled in court. Media coverage painted a picture of a man who had lived in plain sight, exploiting trust while maintaining the illusion of normalcy. Every act of kindness or generosity from the past now carried a sinister undertone. Small gestures were reevaluated as manipulative tactics meant to disarm and deceive. Investigators continued to uncover minor offenses, like surveillance of former partners, secret accounts, and coded messages, all indicating that his obsession was ongoing and multifaceted. Even the smallest discoveries heightened the sense of fear that someone so ordinary could orchestrate evil with such calm precision. Psychologists working on the case described Ethan as highly intelligent but emotionally detached, able to mask his intentions while studying the vulnerabilities of others. He had compartmentalized his life so thoroughly that no one suspected him. Not colleagues, not friends, not even his closest family members. In the aftermath, the town was left questioning every seemingly safe relationship and every familiar face. Schools, workplaces, and neighborhoods suddenly felt more vulnerable, aware that a predator can hide behind charm, smiles, and perfect appearances. Ethan Harper's story, now dissected in court and media alike. Even after the trial, the ripple effects of Ethan Harper's actions continued to haunt the town. Families and friends replayed interactions in their minds, searching for signs they had missed. Each memory of his charm, attentiveness, and generosity now carried an undertone of fear and betrayal. Investigators discovered that Ethan had meticulously erased digital traces of his movements, only to leave subtle clues hidden in plain sight. An encrypted message here, a coded photo file there. These small details revealed the depth of his obsession and the lengths he had gone to maintain control over his victims, long before the murders were even discovered. The community realized that Ethan's manipulation extended beyond the immediate victims. Former colleagues came forward, recalling situations in which he had subtly influenced decisions or spread misinformation, all while maintaining an air of innocence. Friends admitted to feeling inexplicably uneasy in his presence, but they had dismissed it, attributing the discomfort to overthinking. Now, it was clear that nothing about Ethan Harper had been accidental. Every interaction had been part of a calculated plan, a performance that masked a deeply disturbing reality. Psychologists studying his behavior described a chilling combination of intelligence, meticulous planning, and emotional detachment. He had created an alternate persona, one that existed publicly as the perfect neighbor, the ideal boyfriend, and the trusted friend. Behind that persona, however, was a mind obsessed with control, secrecy, and dominance. The investigators' uncovering of his journals and hidden evidence revealed not just the crimes, but the psychological patterns that had made them possible. As the community tried to rebuild, a sense of vulnerability lingered. People realized that danger often lurks behind the most ordinary faces, and that trust can be weaponized by those skilled at hiding their true nature. The months following Ethan Harper's arrest were filled with disbelief, reflection, and unease. The town, once comfortable and trusting, had been forced to confront a reality they had never imagined. Schools, offices, and neighborhoods held a lingering fear. If someone as admired and ordinary as Ethan could commit such calculated atrocities, then no one was truly safe. People re-examined their memories, searching for signs they had ignored. A lingering stare, a strange question, a kindness that had felt slightly too precise. Every interaction with him was now shadowed by the possibility that it had been part of a darker design. For law enforcement, the case became a landmark study in manipulation, control, and psychological deception. Ethan's journals, hidden compartments, and encrypted digital files provided an unfiltered look into a mind that could plan murder while maintaining an impeccable facade. Experts concluded that his crimes were not impulsive but methodical, driven by obsession, control, and a meticulous attention to detail that allowed him to evade suspicion for so long. Even after incarceration, he continued to analyze and document events, as if his obsession with power and secrecy could not be extinguished. Victims' families struggled with grief compounded by anger and betrayal. The knowledge that someone they had known as friendly, caring, and trustworthy had been capable of such darkness was almost unbearable. The town's sense of normalcy was shattered, replaced with a lingering caution and an awareness of human duplicity. Ethan Harper's story became a cautionary tale, a chilling reminder that appearances can deceive and evil can hide behind the most ordinary mask. The man everyone had envied, trusted, and admired was revealed to be a predator who had orchestrated lives, secrets, and deaths with frightening precision. Even as time passed, the memory of his double life lingered, a shadow over a town that learned too late.